who is coming at this from a slightly different angle, so it'll definitely help all of you brands in the audience. Lisa Weinberger is the Director of Content Promotion at Bankrate, so she's going to talk to us a little bit about how she actually makes this work for them. So, let's welcome Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Weinberger, the Director of Content Promotion for Bankrate.com and our network of sites. I oversee social, content development, content coordinators, and link earning. And as Mike started his presentation about crowd content, that's the one thing we don't put out. So today what I'm going to talk about is content development with a purpose. We are a team of 6, and for it to work, because we're held accountable, we have to keep a stable process. And we have real business targets, finding influencers as part of our strategy, and we have to measure our outcomes. So what we do is we make sure all our parts are included, from content to SEO and social. We all work very closely together, and then our team works with editorial, which is our main producer of content, and marketing and PR and business development, who are in charge of syndication to our partners like AOL and Yahoo Finance. And what we ended up doing about 2 years ago, we got reorganized. So I was originally under the editorial department, and they pulled us out to be under the business unit, and that seemed to work really well. So part of our process is brainstorming. We love to brainstorm. So getting published is half our process, and this is a visual of how we go about that. And obviously being part of the editorial calendar is key, because the other half of the process is actually the promotion, which is what I oversee. So knowing when the piece of content is going to publish is a big deal. We love to do pre-publish promotion. Okay, we want to let our community know that a piece of content is coming out, whether it's through email, whether it's through the social networks. We want to build it up. Sometimes we can do a contest that's going to lead up to the content being published, and then from there, obviously, we go promote, post-publish, and we contact the targets, the sources, which obviously gives us social links to social media, as well as maybe link earning. And this is part of our process, and we rinse and repeat this with many times of our content. So our goal is we decide our target, then we clarify the goal, create a strategy, and execute. And why we do is we think about, before we create any piece of content, we think about why. We're an interesting group, I guess, a team, I should say. So we're made up of SEO and social people creating content. And we create content for purposes, for certain targets, whether it's link earning, media pickup, different things. And the biggest thing is we don't produce a lot of content, so with the few pieces of content we do produce, we need to make sure that piece of content gets a lot of exposure. So when we go into our brainstorming meetings, part of it is going through these questions in our mind. We've been working together probably about 2.5 years, so we used to actually physically say these things in our meetings. But now it's just kind of innate, and this is something we'll go through. So, we don't need to hit all these targets, but some of it is match your keyword use, we earn authoritative links, with content performance, social networks, syndication. Like I said, we have all these partnerships, so we have to make sure that they're making sure that they get the content they need to bring to their users. We love to try to extend the content life cycle, and obviously we have social things you have to think about, so what's trending within the communities. So this is just a visual of extending the content life cycle. So, for example, there's a piece of content that went out a few months ago, and then it seemed to do really well, and we did a search, and it's still trending, so we decided to go back into the website and start promoting that piece of content again. And that's part of our process. Another way we also extend content life cycles are different content development types. So these are just a few of the types that we have put onto our sites. Okay, so some examples. The first one is an infographic that's actually on Bankrate.com. It's about investing for retirement. And what happened was we did the research, we did the data, and we showed that when you start investing at 25, you can have this amount of money to retire, versus if you start investing at 55 with 2.5, you're not making as much money in retirement. The second is on interest.com, one of our satellite sites, and it was an interview with someone from Bank of the West. And it was an audio interview with a story copy introduction. Now this next one, which is a 2013 car affordability study, it was put out on interest.com about a month ago. We call it the magnet piece, and the next slide we'll start getting into what magnet content is. But pretty much this thing's really cool. So we ended up doing, so we're in personal finance, so this is the excitement of things that we get to do. So we had the median house income and versus how much car should you afford. So if you're like making, $75,000, people tend to be spending about $30,000 on a car, depending on what city you're in. And then what we ended up doing is doing an interactive chart. So this got like 3,000 media plays in the media, and then we have a bunch of ED links coming into it because we did interviews with professors who were focused on finance and autos, and it's a really cool piece. So that it's still getting a lot of play, and it's been about a month and a half since it's published. And the last one, the final one, which if you were in New York, I used, is just, we did a survey question with 3 expert professors, all, answering the question from different angles, and so it got sponsored by Fidelity, but not only that, it earned, I think, like 5 links. We earned the links from EDUs. So we not only got links from the professors' pages, but we also got them on the news pages too. So as I said, what is magnet content? Now this term is nothing new for the ones who've been in the industry for as long as we have. It's just, we actually, maybe a few months ago, introduced it to Weinberger internally, and they've been putting out magnet content, but they just never knew the name of it. So these are some of the identifying points that we like to explain within internally our teams. So high levels of unique value to a real audience, visitor engagement, on-page SEO value, syndication and attribution via pickup. We would like to get all of them. I mean, obviously not anyone would, but pretty much, as long as we can get some of it, that would be a magnet considered in our world. Now this thing's cool. So there were some questions from SMX East, so I wanted to answer. Someone asked about assignments and requirements, making sure you get back the writing that you are putting out there to freelancers. So this is a topic assignment form. And basically, this keeps everyone accountable and on track. So when you go to, assign a piece of content to a freelancer, we have the drop-down menus, and we actually let the freelancer know how we're going to use the content. I mean, you can see, like, say there's actually promotion engagement, we want them to know exactly how this piece of content is going to be used. And then on top of it is that, if there's something that we're missing, we can all go back to this form. You're like, oh, sorry, we missed it. Like, here are the requirements. And it works out really well, because a lot of times, I don't know if anyone has the challenge of, you're using freelancers or you're outsourcing content and you're not getting back what you're giving. And this thing, it's supposed to, you can make up your own version of it, of course, but this is, we try to hit every point. We found freelancers to know what the content's being used for, the presentation of it, it really helps. And then if they're involved in social media, obviously, then they'll promote it for you and they become your brand ambassador. But this thing keeps everyone just like in line, down the pike, and it gets the content back to what you want. Okay, so the new part of the presentation would be, so on the content promotion side. So part of our content development, or as we're called targeted content, is data mining for influencers. So what is an authority influencer? This is the other half of our authorship to authority. So an authority influencer to us is someone with an inherent value, thought leadership, persuasion, expertise in a given space operating online. So the value of an authority influencer to us is someone who can help build our community, who wants to be involved in our community, the personal finance community, the space, the social signals, word of mouth marketing, links, if it comes in naturally, awesome, great. Syndication and attribution. So if they want to, put a blog post up and they want to source us, well, go right ahead. We love it. And that's our whole point. We're a media company that publishes about personal finance and rates. And they're a strong influencer to become a brand ambassador for us. So that's a big draw for us. Now this is a visual of part of our context of where we use authority influencers. So the first thing before we develop any piece of content is we think of our audience. Okay, so the audience is either with a persona with a problem, task, or goal. We want to answer the person's question. Just like in search, the user types in, where do I find, or how do I refinance my mortgage? We want to be that answer to them. Then we have these goals, and within these goals, you don't see page views because within our department we have page views. Yes, important, but these are actually what we're supposed to be focused on. So what happens is, first, obviously, we start off with we just want to get one goal. And then we're very, very competitive, and we're competitive within ourselves. So we always try to shoot for at least like 6 goals. But the inquiry's how we get 1. We're how we get 6. So this is part of our process. The next is the competition marketplace. So we want to do an analysis, obviously, the competition within the search, determining the level of effort, making sure we're not doing any like QBDs or anything like that, because, sorry, not QBDs, ADs, because otherwise, what's the point of publishing if we already have something ranking for specific keywords? We love data. I mean, we are a research company. So what we try to do is, if we don't internally have the data, we will go to one of the sites, and obviously an authority site, to grab the data and then analyze it. And then we topic vet. And the last part is the presentation. We don't look at presentation first. We look at it last. Why? Because we go over the competition. We have to see if it's even worth creating a piece of content. Why go all the way through if we're going to do a slideshow or a gallery or a blog post or, I don't know, a podcast. Go through all that and then find that somebody else has done something 10 times better than us. So at this point, we want to take our steps through before we even decide to assign it. So this doesn't even happen. Nothing's been assigned yet. This is all going on internally. And then on the bottom part is our promotion process timing. So it's kind of a nice visual showing like, this is what we want to do. We want to pre-promote on certain things out to post-promotion further. So the SEO value of the authority influencer is this one actually is really cool. So a lot of times we find that they can share the content because they're involved in it. So we did an interview with a Dillard professor about retirement savings. And from the interview, then the college decided, obviously gave us the link to promote because they're really happy that she got the promotion. And then from there, the Fox affiliate in New Orleans picked it up and wanted to interview her. So we not only got the link, we earned the link, but then we got a PR pickup, and now it's having a magnet piece for us. So our data mining for influencers. So when we do data mining, whether it's on Twitter or Google+, you set a criteria for targeting them, and these are some of the things. So for the social network, we decide which social network we're actually going to go target to the topic. Again, Weinberger's huge. So it could be from mortgage rates to insurance to auto loans. You just have to decide because there are niche-specific influencers. Reputation is huge. Neighborhood analysis of their website, and then again the search. So the trending items, basically, everyone has their own way of doing data mining and trending, whether to find the trends and see who influences. So basically, some people use different commercial tools, others create tools. So we spend probably about 20 hours plus of research a week looking for influencers to build our communities and to promote and different things. So we decided to build our own tool. And this is the output of it. I can't show you the full version of it, obviously, because it's proprietary. But basically, what we created was a Twitter trending tool. We used the Twitter API. And there were certain criteria that we needed to keep. Otherwise, there's no reason for us to even do this, because we need to save ourselves time. So what we did was we uploaded keywords, 1,500 keywords, and then from there we ended up doing followers on Twitter who have 2,000 or more, and then those followers those users have to conversate at least 2 times or more. Because if they don't conversate, I don't want them. I don't want people screaming out about personal finance information. So this is how we found our authority influencers. This is how we actually presently do find our authority influencers. And even from that point, this is a printout from the Bank of Insurance. They asked for information about autism and insurance. We had a bunch of stories I wrote about it, and this is one of the spreadsheets that came from it. So, I know the presentation earlier today, the Google Plus one, I heard the word stalking. So this is kind of our clean version of stalking. We call it 5 points of contact. We define the identities and conversation points. So basically what we're doing is we're checking out all of the possible ways to connect with different people online. We're all virtual, so the only way to people trust you is by massaging and getting really nice, and between like Twittering and going on the blog posts and reading and different things, people have to trust you before they decide to let you enter into their world of online land. So part of all doing this is for community building. So to establish yourselves as an authority, you need to also have authority influencers within our community. So we want to build trust, and we want to develop brand ambassadors, and we communicate and we engage with them on a daily basis. So we continually are growing our community, and we have different niches. Now this is pretty cool. So what we ended up doing was, and the first one is a newsletter that our social media manager started about a year ago, and she's up to about 475 personal finance subscribers, bloggers. And what she did was, from all the 5 points of contact, it took about a year and a half, 2 years, she built up this community that now lies off the social networks. So she's constantly in contact with them. So with this newsletter, she can promote content that we want promoted. She also asks the bloggers if there's certain things they want promoted within their site, and it develops the community even more. And then now from there, we have all these authority influencers who are really trusting you and trusting the brand. What happened was last year was a conference called FinCon, so when we ended up going there, they all knew her. It was really pretty cool because she did all the online work to then go do old school marketing and networking. And the second one is a scholarly newsletter by our content coordinator. So she's focused on the higher ed community. So she does something similar, but with professors and with PR contacts in the educational field. So of course we all have to measure. You know, we can't just go ahead and have fun and stuff. So we have an internal procedure, mapping trackable content and content development and promotion to see what works. We don't want to make content that doesn't work, and we want to make sure that we're getting it to the right people and to the right hands. So we created a formula through a tagging system. And then recently we just started using Track Social, which I highly recommend if you haven't heard them. On the social side, it just is amazing. And another thing I suggest is benchmark your activities from the beginning so you can keep and see how far you've come since you started all this. And we love building proprietary tools. We have other SEO tools that, again, I can't show you, but they're internal and they're great, and they help us keep us at our positions. So, in summary, earning links and community building is not a quick process. Brainstorming is a must. Identify the target, data mine for influencers, strategize to create magnet content, and retain and grow relationships. And as my other panel said, any authors, writers, get on Google+. Go, get your authorship started. So, thank you.
Awesome, way to bring it home for us. Lisa, quick question, was that social tools you mentioned at the end? Track Social, because I didn't quite hear it. I was standing right next to you, so I wanted to make sure. Everybody got it. All right, so awesome. And also, I have to say, did everybody get all the movie references in both Mike and AJ's slides? Right? Is anyone who's confused about some of the older ones? All right, I'm not going to admit to that. I'm not going to admit to know. I don't even know what I'm not a review person, so I get that one. Fair enough. Okay. All right. So we have about 15 minutes for questions, and we're getting there. We're almost at the end of the day, so we will just nail through these. Okay, so we have a lot of good ones. If we set up authorship for all of our clients, obviously it can take a while to show up, but then it's on those SERPs. Then we see it drop off after 2 to 3 weeks. Any idea why it shows up for a while and then goes away? Kind of touched on this briefly, but give me a mic.
Sure. It might not persist. It might go in and out. There's also likely, you won't get authorship on every result every time. So I don't get authorship on every result every time. It just doesn't happen. So there's probably some amount of analysis that Google does to look at, let's put all this stuff out there, let's have the authorship in place, let's watch what happens, what works, what doesn't. And so potentially maybe people are responding well to it, and it backs off a little bit. So they're constantly testing. My advice is make sure that you go through the testing tool, that everything is set up correctly, and clean. If you want it to work 100% of the time, hard-coded the 3-link Monty way. If you're doing it any other way, it's likely to work more often. So do it the hardcore way, and then be patient.
My colleague is convinced that if you have multiple sites, like a website and blog, and you claim them with only one author, one website, it is likely to show up in the search because Google doesn't want to show multiple results from the same author. Any advice or insight on that? And maybe a good way to look at this is the difference between your profile and search engine versus your personal site.
So one of the changes they made 6-8 months ago was that you couldn't have the authorship snippet more than once on a page, right? So for a time, you could actually get 5 faces of yourself on the same page, which looked ridiculous. And so they got rid of that. So you only get one authorship snippet, but at that point, it's all about query-dependent signals and what's ranking those. So if your site and your blog and they're different sites, different domains, and they have the same query space and they should rank, they'll still rank if you apply authorship.
Yeah, I would add to that I've contributed guest posts or posts regularly on at least 6 sites, and I don't see any reason to not do that. I don't think there's any benefit to only having one author for one site. And realistically, is there a reason you need to have 2 results for the same query? I mean, like, even if it wasn't authorship, like you need both your site and your blog to show up in the same query, you should be targeting something pretty specific. So I don't think that's a huge concern.
Mike's single-handedly going to meet with Webster, obviously. He's working on it. Kind of along the same lines, if companies are claiming personal Google authorship for business content pages, but then they have blank Google profiles, what are you going to do about it? Do you think Google will ever crack down on those blank profiles, which they don't do a lot?
Are we talking fake profiles or are we talking blank profiles?
It sounds...
So let's talk about both.
Yeah.
Okay, fake profiles, yes, they'll crack down on that. It's pretty easy to identify fake profiles from real profiles. Your digital weight and what you do, and as I said, Google will go out and say like, well, do they have, a Yahoo Answers, do they have a Quora, do they have, all that sort of stuff. Pretty easy to see that you were born 6 days ago. If it's a blank profile, I don't think that's going to hurt, authorship. It will certainly hurt author rank if it comes into play, because the activity and engagement that you have on that content within your community is going to count.
Because you're, definitely not as active in the social circles. Okay, this question is probably mostly for Lisa. Are different types of content valued by Google, valued the same by Google, or is one type better than others? And also, is there a way to get credit for authorship of a video or appearing in a video? Okay. No? Well, at least the part, probably the first part of the question maybe for Lisa. Do you see the different types of content being valued the same, a video versus just a blog post, or do certain ones get more?
I think a lot of it has to do, and I showed the presentation, a lot of it has to do with competition, I feel, but as far as ranking goes, so if there's a video that obviously is authoritative and is giving the user the experience the answer that they want, versus a piece of content, a story that's not as strong, I think that's how it's geared, or that's how it's measured, or at least in our book, that's how we measure it. Versus how, I'm not sure exactly, I can't say how Google measures it, but at least that's how we approach it. We don't just, if we see that something's much cleaner, for example, we're doing something on, I think it was about CD rates, and the competitions has a whole bunch of graphs and really cool pie charts and interactions and stuff, and we're looking at this as the SEO team, we're like, I don't know if we can actually pull this one up. I don't know if we can actually place this one. So, that's when we decide to say, okay, this person actually has a strong piece of content, whether, and for me, that's an example, I guess, of answering the question. On the authorship, on the others.
Yeah, for the authorship side, Google is definitely doing authorship attribution for a single person on YouTube videos. If you connect your YouTube profile to Google+, it will actually show an author-rich snippet along with your video thumbnail. It's kind of like a weirdly configured version of it. But I wrote a blog post on it a couple months ago, and I haven't checked in on it. But a lot of tech figureheads in the space get it. If you search for Linux-related terms, one girl who's showing up a lot for authorship and for YouTube videos. So it's definitely happening, and it's possible. I'm not sure how Google values that comparatively. Possible.
And kind of related to that, sometimes you don't really want to build your personal brand, but you'd rather build a company brand. What are your thoughts on using relative publishing for that? And
knowledge graph-like unit now on pretty much branded terms. But there's not a heck of a lot more to do after that. It doesn't do a lot. When they launched, there were all big things about Direct Connect, and you could have conversations with the surf and all that sort of stuff. And I think that pretty much failed. I don't think users liked it, and so it's good to basically say, this is me, this is my site. I think, as I said, you're going to find that I recommend that on your brand pages that you actually at the people who are contributing to that brand page, because I think that's a signal. And over time, I think you'll find that there'll be some sort of roll up of these people who contribute to that publisher.
We did talk a little bit about, when do things break with our labels author? And I think when you mentioned that things break when there are too many labels authored on a single plate. So is there a gauge of how many is too many? And how would you recommend dealing with a situation like that if you have too many?
So the place where that happens most is, so I work with some large publishers, and you'll go to their author page and it'll have a list of all of their content, right? And in the byline of each of those content is a raw author. And it breaks a lot of the time. And in fact, search engineers have said, you might want to take that out because it might be confusing. Basically, the goal is make it as limited as possible. As smaller signals as possible from that page. Be as clean as you can because it's just confused. In its effort to try and, because Google wants more people to participate in the authorship program, but it's not the easiest thing to do, so they're trying to do it for people, and in doing that, they screw it up a lot of the time. So less code, less stuff on the page will help them out.
This is a good question, because I kind of deal with this with our guest authors, search engine design and marketing. What happens if you have multiple authors who do not have a Google Plus account? Can you still implement the authorship for a blog? I know what my answer is, because from my perspective, I try to force them to be on Google Plus, and that's exactly what Google Plus obviously wants you to do. That is the answer that I was okay. I do. I have to kind of physically force people to do it and walk them through it, hand by hand, and because obviously we're not going to get that trigger in the search.
Right.
But what if they just have, and they don't want to post, so if your client has people within the company who don't want to participate on Google Plus, but they're okay to be there, is that going to be a negative?
As long as they flesh out, again, this goes back to the blank versus fleshed out profile.
Yeah, number one, you have to have a headshot, right?
Well, yeah.
You have to have a headshot, and not just a picture, a headshot. It has to be a face, or you won't qualify for authorship. Yes, you'll find some exceptions. No, it doesn't mean that you should not follow that advice. But you can have a blank page, but you just have to think, if someone's going to click through on that search result and find that person, do they look authoritative? When it says next to the thing, in 0 circles or in 5 circles, and they click through and they go to a page that says, so-and-so hasn't shared anything. That's not too good. Like, you don't know anything about that person. It will help in the search result, obviously, but you're not taking full advantage of building your authority. So I would say you can do it, but it's just sort of like, I do it halfway.
Right. And I think one of the tips I give is like, okay, in addition to your linking back to being a contributor on search engine, then include your LinkedIn profile, include your Twitter handle, and I tell them to put all of those things also in there. Fill out your profile. And then you're not to touch it.
Participate.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting. Is
Yeah.
it's a BV. They don't want to participate. Yes, you can put me there.
Right.
Yeah, and again, that's the line. I'm sorry. If you really want to get, that would be like saying, I'm going to go to a conference, and I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to network at the conference. Screw that. All right? I'm not going to tell anybody and demonstrate that I know my stuff. I'm not going to speak at the conference. I'm just going to sit here and I'll put my card in the bowl and everything will happen. It's not how it's going to work. So it's just, you have to think different. It's no longer that GeoCities page. It's no longer, online is different. It's the same. And you need to demonstrate that expertise. So when someone says, I don't want to engage, it's like this is saying, I don't want to talk to my customers.
See if you can find competitors who are doing that. Engaging Google Plus, that'll let fire.
That's true.
Well, they're okay with brand don't care. They don't care about Google Plus.
No, they don't. They don't care about Google Plus, I can't say. But, you know, it sometimes is nice, just, I mean, you explain the business reasons, the motivations, that higher click-through rate, getting more customers. I mean, a CEO, even though it doesn't engage with their end user or end customer, their face might still be a recognizable figure. They might still do, you know. Who's not gonna click on Bill Gates' face? You know, I don't know, I think that was something completely random.
That's an insight.
We'll see what happens there, but with that, I'm gonna stop it there. I told you, it's been a long day, but we still have one more session to go, and I'm doing that in another room. It's how to build links and win authority through PR. So public relations PR, big time, that's the one that works. Fill out your survey, tell us how awesome these guys did, or not did, what you're going to improve. Don't forget, SMX After Dark Party, sponsored by Mario, is at the Peach Lounge tonight.